We return to Gundam 0080, War in the Pocket. We left off with Al tracking a crashing mobile suit into the woods where the pilot had a gun on him. By the way, for simplicity, I'm going to refer to these things often as robots, because saying mobile suit every time is going to get awkward, and I'm not sure whether or not any of these things would qualify as a Gundam, and using the shortened MS to refer to a lumbering juggernaut, well, will sound like a silly riff on Microsoft. I don't want to do that. Well, the pilot seems to calm down after a moment, seeing that it's just a kid and not the expected line of authorities here, not as if a giant robot falling out of the sky would draw attention or anything. Al decides to annoy him because he's an 11-year-old kid, so that's kind of his thing.
Oh, is that thing a real gun? Oh, please, man, let me hold it, will ya?
No, you can't.
Damn it, you're going to become my comic relief sidekick, aren't you? Crap.
Well, you can stand there all day, but I'm not letting you hold my gun.
Meanie!
As someone who has worked a lot with children, this is completely accurate behavior for kids. And it's just as annoying in real life, too. And I'm trying not to go with the cheap pedophile joke, but the episode just isn't helping with the constant demand to handle the gun, from the boy in the tiny pants.
Gonna let me hold it?
Well, faster than you can say yoink, he swipes away the video camera and looks through it, discovering the footage from the spaceport, which naturally could be valuable intel that might just make up for crashing his bot in the woods. But the kid ambushes him and manages to get the camera away because this guy is not a terribly impressive soldier. He manages to get it back, though, trading his insignia for the tape. No, sorry, not tape, I forgot. This is the future. We wouldn't use tape. This is digital. No. He takes out the floppy disk because we are on the cutting edge of technology. He leaves when another mobile suit swings by to pick him up, and Al celebrates his acquisition. Yes, sir, this has been an awesome day. Cool, maybe I can swipe a spine while no one's looking. Well, it's time to get back to school, as war in the streets between giant robots is only enough to give you a half day off with these jaded people.
Cancel classes today, we're free!
Oh man, a whole day off? Those people in the future are getting soft. One thing about the series I don't quite like is that life inside 6 seems to lack signs of change. I mean, there are little things like the zero gravity in the spaceport, but overall, this just feels like this is modern life on Earth and not future life on a space colony. I'm not expecting robot butlers or everyone in silver suits and stuff like that, and perhaps the goal was to try to make it relatable to the kids. This series is primarily focused on seeing war through the eyes of a child, so perhaps giving it a contemporary feel was necessary. Or there could be some other explanation. This is talking out of my ass theater with War in the Pocket, after all. It's just that the Japanese culture presented in last month's Godzilla, only 60 years into our past and on the other side of the world, didn't feel as close as the culture of this far greater future set on a space colony. Meanwhile, on the moon, that's what I'm talking about. Steiner's looking over the video footage. This is, in fact, the cargo they've been trying to take care of in the Arctic. And he gets into a little pissing contest with his superior because the guy says this discovery will help save Steiner's butt from his failure. And Steiner points out, hey, it only failed because you suck and sent us in there without enough men, General Suck. Obviously, that's not his real name. General Suck sounds stupid, doesn't it? No. His real name is Colonel Killing. Yes, villains, huh? Sometimes they just can't help themselves. Well, Bernie, the pilot that found the footage, is getting mocked because it seems that was his first battle, and he lost his mobile suit. That's kind of a big screw-up. But he's in luck. Colonel Killing has decided to assign him to Steiner's unit to replace the fallen Andy. I only like to smoke the first millimeter of each cigarette. That's where the flavor really lies. He's not too happy with Bernie. His addition to the team was clearly meant to be an insult, but he's at least good enough not to take it out on Bernie. This may be the bad guy's side here, and the rest of the team's a bit rough around the edges, but they still seem just like soldiers, fighting for whatever this moon cause is that Zeon has. More rights for werewolves or something, I don't know. They're doing special forces work now. Their mission is to infiltrate Side 6 with a hidden mobile suit. Bernie will be flying it in there disguised as a civilian transport, while the Zeon will create a distraction. And there's only one kind of distraction the Zeon know: blowing the crap out of stuff. So he's going to get to fly through a war zone while trying not to have his cargo get revealed. Meanwhile, Al thinks the worst of the worst is happening to him because his shitty grades are about to get back to his mom. But all he can think about is that vision of the robot flying off with Bernie. So he slips out at night to go look at the wreckage and, of course, to fulfill every kid's dream to climb up and play on it. Even better, he falls into the cockpit and at least part of that is working so that he can enjoy that. And fortunately for everybody on the colony, the weapons were stripped off so the kid can't accidentally blow a hole in the side of the thing. At the risk of restarting the sub versus dub debate, and let me tell you, Godzilla was a pain to do with the subs. I did watch this with subtitles first, and I honestly found virtually no difference in viewing with the dubbing. I understand War in the Pocket is considered a pretty good dub, but the one exception is the Zeon commander, who sounds like someone who's doing a bad Schwarzenegger impression.
He is here. Special forces out in front.
And animals will be bred and slaughtered. So with a dead guy for his pilot, Bernie flies through the combat zone, which means it's time for hot robot-on-robot action. For all my talk about kids, I will say this. You are never too old to stop loving giant robots beating the shit out of each other. And there may not be much of it, but damn, what we do get is good. Especially with Bernie's tiny transport pitifully trying to fly through this free-for-all without getting blown up. But he makes it. Ironically, a Federation mobile suit seems to be providing cover for his landing, so he makes it alive inside to deliver his cargo. But battle or not, he needs to have proper paperwork, for the thing that keeps Side 6 spinning is not Newton's laws of motion, but the tireless pen and ink of bureaucracy. They plan to inspect the cargo, then, to make sure that he's not smuggling a giant killer robot on board, or even worse, giant house cats. But Steiner shows up with the papers and a sob story about construction equipment that, if delayed, would destroy his business. And nice cover, too. With the recent attack, the need for the rapid delivery of heavy construction equipment is a perfectly plausible explanation for the big crate and their rushed paperwork. Really, the Zeons here may be the bad guys and have leaders with stupid names, but they're sharp. Everything's going perfectly.
Wow, that was really close!
You stupid kid, are you trying to get yourself killed?
Huh?
And then the only person on this whole giant suppository that could identify any one of them happens to run into that one guy. Bernie is starting to turn into the John Crichton of giant robot wars. So Al decides to hitch a ride on the last truck to find out what's going on. What will that mean? Will the rest of the team be as open to Al as Bernie was, given their love of cigarettes, knives, and booze? We'll find out in Episode 3 of War in the Pocket in 2 weeks. While Episode 1 showed us why Al would want to get involved in these events, his problems with school and at home leading him to look for an escape from his mundane life to find something amazing, Episode 2 focuses on Bernie and shows his own concerns. He's a nobody in the military, a Zeon peon, if you will. But like Al, he wants to be more than that. And like Al, he's not been doing so hot. We can see that this mission is his one chance to redeem himself, and thus understand why it's so important to him that nothing goes wrong, and that he'd be willing to fly that helpless ship through a war zone to succeed. So that will shade his behavior for the next several episodes. And Steiner, he seems as human as his opening grief at the loss of his friend implied. A hard man, yet ultimately looking out for his team. And while the rest of the group is a bit cruel towards Bernie, Steiner seems to be all business, even though he could make things rough on the kid. It's not Bernie's fault, after all, that he's here or that he's so green, so Steiner's going to give him the chance to make something of himself. But at the same time, still make Bernie prove himself. He's not going to make things hard on him, but he expects his men to be able to do their job without any hand-holding. Add in some good action, and this episode continues to build towards the big plot of War in the Pocket, with enough of both to keep our interest and build intrigue.
Bet they'll send you to Solomon, another wasted sacrifice to the war.
I said lay off!